Jack, can I ask you something?
Sure, go for it.
When was the last time you sat in a room, completely alone, with no phone, no music, nothing, and you were actually okay with it?
Wow. Honestly, I can't remember. That's a hard question.
Right? Just sit with that for a second, listeners. Think about your own answer. When was the last time you were truly alone and it felt peaceful, not painful?
I think for a lot of us, the answer is not recently. Most of us fill every quiet moment with something a video, a message, background noise, and that's kind of what we want to talk about today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rose and Jack Everyday English. This is the place where you can improve your English through calm, natural conversations about life, mindset, and everyday moments. I'm Rose.
And I'm Jack.
Today's topic is the beauty of being alone. We're going to explore the difference between loneliness and solitude and why silence can feel so uncomfortable at first, but can actually become peaceful, even something you look forward to.
If you're a B1 or B2 learner, this episode is designed with you in mind. And if you're a stronger learner or even someone just starting out, just relax, listen, and enjoy the conversation. There's something here for everyone.
So, Jack, let's start here. Why do you think people are so afraid of being alone?
Honestly, I think it's because silence forces you to hear your own thoughts. When there's noise around you, you don't have to think. You don't have to feel anything too deeply. But when it's quiet, everything you've been avoiding just shows up, whether you're ready for it or not.
That's such a good point. Silence doesn't create your thoughts, it reveals them.
Exactly. And that can be uncomfortable because a lot of the thoughts we're avoiding aren't pleasant ones.
Can you tell me more about that? Has that happened to you?
Definitely. I remember a few years ago, I was going through a really stressful period at work, and I couldn't sit still for even 5 minutes without checking my phone or turning on a podcast. Even in the shower, I had music playing.
Why do you think that was?
I think part of me knew that if I stopped and got quiet, I'd have to face how stressed and honestly, how unhappy I actually was. It's much easier to distract yourself for a few more hours than to sit down and deal with a hard feeling.
That makes so much sense. And I think for me, it wasn't even about avoiding stress. It was more like I didn't know who I was without other people around. Like being alone made me feel invisible in a strange way.
That's really interesting. Can you explain that more?
Well, when I'm with friends or family, I know exactly what my role is. I'm the funny one, or the one who gives advice, or the one who organizes everything. But alone, there's no audience. There's just me, with no performance to give. And for a long time, that felt uncomfortable, almost boring, like I wasn't sure what to do with myself.
Sure, go for it. So, loneliness and solitude aren't really the same thing, are they?
No, not at all. And I think this is the most important idea in today's episode. Loneliness is when you feel alone even when you're surrounded by people. It's a painful kind of emptiness, a feeling that something is missing. But solitude is different. Solitude is a choice. It's alone time that you actually want, alone time that feeds you instead of draining you.
That's a great way to put it. Loneliness feels like something is missing. Solitude feels like something is finally quiet enough to hear.
Exactly. And I think the fear comes from confusing the two. People assume that being alone automatically means being lonely, so they avoid solitude completely without ever giving it a real chance.
Right, and by avoiding it, they never actually learn the difference between the two. They just keep running from silence their whole lives.
It's almost like a muscle you never build. If you never practice being alone, of course it feels awkward the first few times you try.
That's such a good comparison, actually. Like anything unfamiliar, it feels strange until it doesn't.
After the break, we'll talk about how solitude can actually give you clarity for the biggest decisions in your life, decisions that other people's voices often make harder, not easier. Stay with us.
Welcome back, everyone. So, Rose, let's get into this. How does being alone actually help with big decisions?
I think it's because when you're alone, there's no outside noise pulling you in different directions. No one telling you what they think you should do, what they would do in your place, or what they're afraid might happen if you choose differently.
Can you give an example from your own life?
Yeah, actually. A few years ago, I was deciding whether to leave a stable job to try something completely different, something riskier, but more exciting to me. And everyone had an opinion. My parents wanted me to stay safe, to keep the steady paycheck. My friends wanted me to take the risk, to finally do something bold. And honestly, I couldn't hear my own voice underneath all of theirs. It felt like 10 different people were shouting advice at once.
So what did you do?
I took a weekend, completely alone, no phone calls, no messages, just me and my thoughts and a notebook. And by the end of it, I realized I already knew the answer. I just needed quiet to actually hear it clearly, without everyone else's fear or excitement mixed into mine.
Wow, that's powerful. You didn't need someone to tell you the answer. You needed space to find it yourself.
Exactly. And I think that's true for a lot of big decisions. Moving to a new city, ending a relationship, changing careers, even something as simple as how to spend your weekend. Other people's opinions are loud, but they're not you, and they don't have to live with the results of your choice.
Can I ask you something now?
Of course.
Do you think people are afraid of what they'll find when they're alone with a big decision? Like, afraid the answer might not be what everyone around them wants to hear?
That's such a good question. Yes, I think so, completely. Sometimes solitude gives you an answer that disappoints people you love. Maybe it means saying no to a safe path or choosing something that worries your family. And that's scary, but at least it's honest. And honesty is something you can build a life on.
That's the thing, isn't it? You can't build a real, satisfying life based entirely on everyone else's expectations of you.
Right. Solitude doesn't just give you clarity, it gives you permission to trust yourself, maybe for the first time in a while.
So, we've talked about why people fear being alone and how solitude gives us clarity when we're facing big decisions. Now let's get into the part I think matters most, how being comfortable alone actually makes our relationships better, not worse.
That's such an important distinction, and I don't think people talk about it enough. Needing someone and choosing someone are two completely different feelings, even though from the outside they can look the same.
Exactly. I actually learned this the hard way a few years ago. I was in a relationship where I constantly needed reassurance from my partner. I'd text her all day, needing to know she was thinking about me, needing proof that I mattered. And looking back now, it wasn't really about her at all. It was about me not knowing how to sit comfortably with my own company.
How did you eventually realize that about yourself?
Honestly, the relationship ended, and for the first time in years, I was completely alone in my apartment. No one to call every evening, no one checking in throughout the day. And at first, it was genuinely awful. The silence felt heavy, almost unbearable some nights. But slowly, week by week, I started to actually enjoy my own evenings. I'd cook dinner just for myself and take my time with it. I'd go for long walks with no destination. I'd read books I actually wanted to read, not just ones I mentioned to sound interesting.
And what changed after that period, once you started dating again?
When I started dating again, it felt completely different from before. I wasn't looking for someone to complete me or to fix the emptiness I used to feel. I was looking for someone I genuinely wanted to spend time with, someone who added to a life that already felt full, because my own company was already enough on its own.
That's beautiful, actually, when you put it that way. You stopped needing someone to survive emotionally and started choosing someone because you truly wanted to, not because you were afraid of what would happen if you didn't.
Exactly. And that changes everything about how you show up in a relationship. You're not clinging to the other person out of fear. You're not constantly anxious, checking for signs that they still care. You're just present with them because you're not terrified of being left alone with yourself afterward.
I think that's true for friendships too, not just romantic relationships. When you're comfortable alone, you stop surrounding yourself with people just to avoid silence or boredom. Instead, you start choosing friends because you genuinely enjoy their company, not simply because you're afraid of being by yourself on a Friday night.
That's such a healthier way to live when you think about it. Relationships built on need are exhausting for everyone involved. But relationships built on genuine choice are peaceful, lighter somehow, easier to carry.
I love that idea. Can I say something that I think ties this whole episode together?
Please go ahead. I'd love to hear it.
I think the relationship we have with ourselves is the very first relationship we ever build in life. And honestly, it might be the most important one we ever have. If you can't enjoy your own company, it becomes very hard to build anything truly healthy with someone else because you're always asking them to fill a space that was never really theirs to fill.
That's such a strong way to think about it, and such a good way to end this. Enjoying your own company isn't selfish like some people assume. It's actually one of the most generous things you can offer the people around you.
Because you're not asking them to fix something that was never their job to fix in the first place.
Exactly right. So maybe the real goal in life isn't to never feel lonely again, because everyone feels lonely sometimes. Maybe the real goal is learning how to slowly turn that loneliness into solitude, one quiet moment at a time, one evening alone at a time.
I really love that. Alone doesn't have to mean empty. It can mean full, just full of yourself in the very best way possible.
Now it's time for Word Walk. 5 useful words and phrases from today's conversation that you can start using naturally in your own everyday English conversations.
First word, solitude. This means being alone in a peaceful, comfortable way, usually by your own choice, not by accident. For example, she spent the entire weekend in solitude, reading quietly and thinking about her future.
Next word, distraction. This means something that takes your attention away from what you're actually feeling or thinking about deep down. For example, he used his phone as a distraction so he wouldn't have to sit with his problems.
Third word, clarity. This means having a clear, honest understanding of something, especially after a period of confusion. For example, after a long, quiet walk alone, she finally felt clarity about her difficult decision.
Fourth word, cling, or clinging to someone. This means holding on tightly to someone or something, usually out of fear rather than genuine desire. For example, he used to cling to relationships because deep down, he was afraid of being alone.
And our last word today, fulfilling. This describes something that makes you feel deeply happy, satisfied, and complete. For example, spending time with people I truly choose, not just people I need, feels far more fulfilling.
Great words today, Rose. I think our listeners can really start using these naturally, whether they're talking about relationships, mindset, or just describing their own quiet evenings.
Definitely. All right, that brings us to the end of today's episode, and what a conversation it's been.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone, wherever you're joining us from today. We really hope this conversation gave you something honest to think about.
Here's a question we'd genuinely love for you to answer down in the comments below. When was the last time you felt truly comfortable being alone? And what did that quiet moment teach you about yourself?
Take a moment, think about it honestly, and share your answer with us if you feel comfortable. We read every single comment, and we would love to hear your personal story.
And if you're enjoying this podcast and learning English speaking with us, please subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. It genuinely helps us keep making these conversations for you every single week.
Every conversation is a step closer to speaking English naturally and with confidence.
See you in the next episode, friends.